All right, folks, we'll go back. Game number 1 in a brand new best of 3 here in the semifinals for this week's Corsair Cup. Of course, sponsored by and brought to you thanks to Corsair. Shoutouts on the awesome headsets that they have. But spawning here on the top left side of the map, it's going to be the blue Terran player, KeeN.
In the bottom left, as the red Protoss, it is PtitDrogo.
So prior to getting to the game, we were discussing your new hair.
Ah, yes. A lot of people have a lot of different comments on it, and I was just, I was like, I guess it's not like I should have expected anything different, but it's funny to think that, you know, when I was natural hair, no one really cared. You know, it's like the standard, right? But no one really ever brings up like, oh, she would look better as a blonde until we had the hair dye contest. But now everyone has their own opinion about what I would look better as.
Well, I think some are probably just a little bit salty their color didn't get picked.
Yeah, all those blue fans.
Where's the alternate reality where we have blue zombie grub, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've seen it in person. I've seen it on stream. I think it looks great. I don't have opinions about whether it's better or not versus your natural hair color, because I thought that also looked fine. I think some people probably just are getting... It's hard to get used to change.
It is, yes, but it does go back to the thing of like, you know, like telling me that it looks meh does not help, as I am literally stuck with this color for like, you know, weeks to come. But also, I just think it's funny that it's not something that we usually think of as being interchangeable. So right now, I'm thinking, what would Rifkin look better as? Would he look better as a redhead? No, it looks better as a redhead. That's a trick question.
I would look fantastic as a redhead. What else?
Can you give it like a carrot top? Can you be orange?
I'll even do like curls in my hair too, so it's like all super scraggly looking. No, thank you. All right. So probe gets picked off. SCV got a decent scout. KeeN, I just want to note, is playing from Korea. This isn't some like weird thing where we're tricking you with a fake name. This is actually him. Him and many others play on the European server, so I would say significantly disadvantaged when it comes to ping and such, but hasn't stopped a lot of these guys. And KeeN himself has actually won a couple of our European events. So
yeah,
Drogo, I'm hoping doesn't take this lightly, because while KeeN is not exactly the TY or the Marus of Terran out there, he's still really freaking good.
Yeah, for sure. And he's still a contender for any online qualifier, or online tournament or qualifier. But it is a case where it's bad ping. I still like, even though they shouldn't be, it still seems to affect somewhat having to be up at such an odd time, having such an odd schedule. But they've been doing it for quite some time. Tang, KeeN, a bunch of Protosses for whatever reason. They can't recall right now. Wow, I can't recall any of the Protosses that usually join. Billowy, who was going to show up today but didn't.
Seed from time to time.
Yeah, Seed from time to time. That's not the people I was thinking of.
Once.
No, there was like this.
Tails.
It was like. Yes, thank you, Tails. Yes, that's what I was trying to think of.
Just going through all the. There's like quite a few Protoss. I'm like, which one is she struggling with here?
No, but there's always like the 3 Protosses that participate in the European Cup: Billowy, Tails, and then another one that I can't think of right now. But anyway, point is, a lot of these guys just are looking for. Okay. They're looking for cash, I suppose, and especially now with the qualifiers being done, I'm actually surprised I don't see more and more people, which is why tomorrow's Ting qualifier should be exciting. But more importantly, we have actually what might be a game-ending move, a Depths
Drogo.
and an Oracle.
You dirty son of a gun! You catches him off guard pretty hardcore. The Cyclone might get the Oracle, and that's okay. That's good. But the Marines died. There's a second Oracle on the way, and if you guys don't know, an Oracle can actually straight up 1v1 a Cyclone. It's actually kind of ridiculous. So
Oracles are stupid.
I will say that Drogo got a nice lead off of this, and not necessarily because he slaughtered SCVs. He only killed like 5. Not really that big of a deal. But what he did do was keep KeeN from getting away with much. He killed enough army. There's not going to be any sort of counter push. It's 42 workers to 29, and this freedom allows him to take a 3rd base, and I'd say pretty comfortably. Because again, trading out the army means that he knows there's not going to be an attack, no counterattack.
Yeah, exactly. Killing all those Marines. I mean, you can try and micro a little bit with the Cyclone, and maybe get like a pylon or a stalker that's out in the middle of nowhere, but you're not really going to get much. It really would have been the Marines that would have been scary. So taking them all out. Absolutely, Drogo can take a 3rd base and probably be pretty damn safe. He saw the Cyclone, which, by the way, is kind of an older build, which is a little interesting. To get the Cyclone defensively is it used to be like, you know, the defense, but then it really fell off. Widowmine drops are a lot more popular, and you know, 3 racks openers.
Well, speaking of which, there's no Widow Mines right now, but that Cyclone is not going to take on 2 Oracles. And Drogo actually micro-resisted the lock-on would go to the full health one, so this Cyclone goes down pretty frickin' quick. Some SCVs to follow. The Engineering Bay only just finishes, so still going to wait for turrets. Man, oh man, do I love... I almost forgot about this until just this moment, when Terran didn't need an Engineering Bay for like a month.
Wow, can you not bring that up?
That was good times, man. Those are the best of times. But regardless, kudos to Drogo. Takes out the Cyclone, breaks that defense. Again, still not really slaughtering tons of workers, but 10 ACVs is certainly nothing to, I guess, be unhappy about killing. 55 workers out of 33. Of course, they don't know about this difference, but we'll see if these Widow Mines can help make up those numbers.
The initial Oracle shenanigans put KeeN behind mostly because Drogo was able to get so far ahead, but the further Oracle shenanigans, I think KeeN's not super dead, but he's in a rough spot here. His 3rd command center just started on location. That's not a good place to put Widow Mines right next to a cannon. Loses the medevac. I mean, his army supply, I was gonna say, looks decent, especially if he could save the medevac, and maybe he could do like a push that surprises Drogo, but that doesn't consider photon overcharges, which Drogo has pylons set up for. So I think that Drogo is probably going to be able to steamroll, actually.
Yeah, this feels like for KeeN, there's been so many little mistakes. But, you know, that being said, we've seen a lot of situations where good Terran players can take that game and play it from behind, that can find ways to trade out little bits and eventually pull ahead. But there's certainly not going to be any A-moving for KeeN anytime soon. He's going to have to be very precise going forward, and messing up with medevacs, whether that's lag or whether that's being on tilt, just not something he's going to be able to afford to do.
Well, Combat Shields is about to finish, and he will need that before taking any engagements. But unfortunately, that's really his army. I mean, there's not even any Widow Mines anymore to help, I guess, kind of add a bit of randomness into the fight here. If it's just straight up Marine medevac versus this army, then of course KeeN is going to lose, upgrades or not, as Drogo actually has his +1 upgrade already. So actually, this might just be game. Blink, blink under the... Oh, wow. Oh, come on. That Stalker shot, how did it even reach?
Because Protoss is magic. Now, this isn't even... Like, I really want to stress, guys, we can make whatever jokes. There's actually no balance problems going on right now. We're just seeing a lot of mistakes out of KeeN, which are easily accountable through, like, server discrepancies.
That's certainly true, but I would actually say that his build in general, so you get caught off guard by that Adept Oracle stuff, and everyone's had that happen to him, and you just lose. But also, I don't know, his build, that Cyclone opener, didn't help him out. The one thing it was supposed to help to do, and it still, it still happened, and then it just died to the 2 other Oracles. This has not been the cleanest PvT that we've seen, or TVP, rather. Certainly Protosses had their own time where versus Terran is very difficult. In fact, I think they still might be a little underpowered in the overall balance, but Terrans have had their own time where they were truly scared of Protosses, and that I feel like that might have been a little bit here.
Well, what I'm worried about now is we do have Liberators enough in play, and there's not that many Blink Stalkers. Like, this is such a big Adept army. Like, this is a stupidly big Adept army where Liberators, if Drogo messes up, might be the saving grace. But the problem is, there are so many Adepts!
This is the god.
Alright, just blinks in, takes out the Liberators. Not a problem. Marines just disappear. There's nothing to play with. They're going to spam repair this bunker, but just focus with the Adepts. I mean, there's so many of them.
Look at the supply. It's twice, yeah. GG. That did not feel like the most confident Terran versus Protoss.
No.
That was actually pretty bad. Poor KeeN.
All right, well, Drogo's going to take that first game, but this is hardly over. We'll see if KeeN can bring it back or not in game number 2, maybe. It's going to be his map selection.
It's Dusk Towers. Man, now that I know exactly what that Indian yogurt stuff was, I really want to get some. I'm gonna go down to the grocery store and look for me some dahi.
Alright, let me join here. Man, I'm really excited for the co-op thing, though, man. I got people messaging me about Abathur. I don't even know if it would be a good or bad hero. I'm actually really excited for the mastery levels, though. I love co-op a lot. So.
Yeah. Even though I don't play it, and I don't know, I really have no urge to play. I don't know what's up with that. I am really glad that they're actually focusing on it because I feel like a lot more people are saying they enjoy co-op a lot more.
I don't even care about like whether that's like, you know, because StarCraft I feel it's got this really stark view of like what is StarCraft, what isn't StarCraft, the ladder versus not ladder versus whatever. I've always been such a big fan of like the arcade ever since, well, what was custom games, UMS back in the day. And the ladder aspect of it, the competition side that we're casting right now has always been cool, but for me, I've always just loved playing the other part of it. So co-op for me was just like the perfect thing to come out.
Mm.
But, okay, we got Drogo finally joining the lobby, so we can go as soon as they're ready on Dusk Towers, map number 2 here in the semifinals. Top half of the bracket, we got Mana fighting against Tang Tang. The winner of that will fight against Guru, and we'll be casting that one after this. But we'll see you guys in a second. Dusk Towers. All right, folks, game number 2 here in the Corsair Cup semifinals. Spawning here in the upper right side of Dusk Towers is going to be the blue Terran player playing from Korea. It's KeeN.
In the bottom left, as the red Protoss, it's my Insanity's PtitDrogo.
Now, some of you may have seen this, and this is what I'm thinking is his reasoning for being here. Drogo, after losing DreamHack France, had a rather, we'll say emo, but I mean in terms of like more emotional than anything else. TwitLonger, I think it was, where he's basically describing like being upset with performance. He can't remember what it feels like to win anymore and all this stuff. It was really hard to read that as a Drogo fan, and a little bit sad to see. But I love that he's bounced back immediately, and he says, you know what, whether it's practice training or he just wants a couple of bucks in cash, I love seeing him come out for the Corsair Cup today. And I think, really, if he does make it to the finals, win or lose there, whether it's Mana or Guru, those are going to be fantastic matches where you know you're going to get the better practice than if you were playing on the ladder. I mean, Snoot has constantly talked about this when we've had him on for streams, about how he loves playing in our tournaments so often because you get better practice here than you will randomly grinding the ladder.
Snoot's pretty good about that. But, you know, speaking of that TwitLonger thing, and then I know there's like a Reddit post saying like seeing all these depressed pro gamers on my newsfeed is really like, you know, depressing, basically.
A bummer.
Yeah, it's a bummer. I do wonder, you know, because it feels like there wasn't that much of a complaint before. You would see Snoot maybe occasionally be really sad because he got to like the top 8 and then he dropped out. And I wonder if that's because either the foreigners no longer have the Koreans that make them go like, oh, I expected to lose anyway, so I'm not that upset.
Blame the Koreans.
Or that there's so many more foreigners actually getting to those top 16 and top 8 and actually just barely making it, that so many more are finally getting to that point where they can't be like, oh, I didn't perform well in this tournament, I'm really sad.
I think the thing is, for Drogo, it was especially your hometown in France. Like, it was probably going to hit harder there than, say, Austin or anywhere else in the world. But
sure.
Regardless of like what the reasoning is, whether it's scapegoating, like, okay, I don't have Koreans to blame anymore or not, I just... It's equally cool seeing people like Neeb and Showtime rise through the ranks. And I say Showtime rising through the ranks as if he was some baddie, but no, he's always been good. And it was really cool seeing like Drogo win like DreamHack at the start of the year. But it's also really sad also seeing them then fall later. If they can't perform that same level of performance, do they feel like they're worth less because of it? I mean,
yeah, I really wonder, like, you know, because if you get to a round of 16 once and that's like your greatest achievement, then losing in the round of not even getting to the tournament is, you know, something that I guess you can't be so upset about. But if you're consistent round of 16 and then you don't make that, then that's, I guess, where you get really depressed and really start thinking about like what is my place in the world and whatnot. So anyway, just idle thoughts, and it's not entirely because of Drogo, exactly, you know, because a lot of people were, you know, really upset at their performance and the various dream hacks over the last 2 weeks. I think that's another thing that might have affected it too, though, is the fact that it was one dream hack after another.
Yeah, actually, I guess that's kind of funny too, because you really are. I guess we're talking a lot about this, guys, because it's slow build up. So again, we're not getting super off topic. But what's kind of interesting, I guess, is the tournament circuit really did fall heavily to becoming about dream hacks and IEMs, and less about having this cool thing where Blizzard would invite you to America, you'd play over there, and et cetera, et cetera. The only comment I would make, though, and this is maybe more on, if not DreamHack, Blizzard, Bunny was actually making this good point of saying single elimination sucks because like you can have your entire mindset and career ruined by losing a single best of 5. And that was a big problem, if you remember, for people who were trying to qualify into Challenger versus Premier and all that. Like, they didn't want to have to play just one best of 5 to determine whether they could play or not for a whole season. So maybe it's something where double elimination could help a lot of these feelings. You feel like, oh, I lost the winners bracket, but I brought it back through the losers or something. I don't know. Maybe you just lose twice and feel even worse. There's no easy solution.
Yeah. But I guess this is hopefully the... Actually, you know what? I can't even say that. This is definitely not the last time we're going to have such 2 tournaments, either at the same time or back to back. I know there's going to be other scheduling conflicts, because there always is with the Chinese tournament. Remember? That's still later in this year. So, oh well.
Shanghai is going to be interesting. Alibaba is going to be interesting. All of these things. But we do have 2 win minds heading towards the main. It looks like we finally have the game taking shape, so people can stop. I haven't actually checked chat, but I'm sure somebody's like talking about the game. But for KeeN, there's going to be overcharges. This is actually going to be pretty hard to get both Widow Mines down. Maybe one gets planted. Is Drogo paying attention? No,
Oh, it should have been impossible. Oh my god, he should have had at least one potion overcharge go off.
Oh, that follow-up was... Okay, not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, that almost reached. But yeah, with 2 pylons set up on a mothership right there, a double overcharge could have actually taken out almost everything, in fact. It does a lot of damage very quickly. But instead takes 5 probes worth of damage and still has to get his units up there and there we go, cleaning it up and whatnot. But that really was the first action to have occurred. I mean, the Reaper has been running around getting a bit of scouting, but there really was nothing to scout. Drogo takes a perfectly timed, like well-timed, safe time, whatever, third, as an appropriate army in case KeeN was going to be like really eager to attack, but it just drops right now. And Drogo has an observer over KeeN's army, in fact, that KeeN should definitely scan, but...
Yeah, having eyes on this, he saw it get picked up. He knows there's a drop heading off to the left side. That's why all the stalkers are positioned over here. I mean, KeeN... If he unloads anything with this, that'd be impressive. If that medevac goes down, though, that's going to be devastating.
I'm not sure what's with the bunker at KeeN's main base. His Reaper saw the third. I guess he didn't see that it was like it had a lot of probes, so maybe he thought a Blink Stalker attack was still possible, but it feels a little safe. And this does go back to that last game too, where the last game he had a bit of an older build, like a safer build, but an older build that just it seems like it doesn't work out anymore. Like you give too much power to the Protoss to just out macro you if you play defensive in this matchup. And KeeN is once again playing defensive. He salvages it very quickly, I suppose, but this is not exactly like dangerous territory for Drogo. Like one drop, this is...
Okay, so KeeN doesn't know about the stalkers there. I think he's aiming for the natural, which is the better choice right now. But I think a lot of this has to do with getting the Liberator in to distract first. He wants Drogo to be looking to the right. Overcharge gets popped. Medevac's moving into the natural. Stalkers are out of position for this. I think he just has to pull back for like a second, though. This really shouldn't be that much damage.
Yeah. Yep, pull the probes, blink your stalkers over, make sure the third doesn't get attacked too, and that was not exactly perfect defense, because he still loses 9 probes, which is pretty good, really, for a single drop, but it wasn't game-ending damage. I think that Drogo really had to be like, oh my god, I'm about to be killed here. So he may return the favor with these adepts, or no, DTs, oh dear.
Yep, this is where it gets scary, because KeeN doesn't have that turret down. He does burn a scan, but of course we're going to see more than just one.
Oh no!
More does go down. That's pretty nice here for KeeN, but again, even just burning 3 scans for this is going to be far too costly. You want the mules, of course. We got turrets coming down, best they can be. That observer's still just chilling. Oh no!
Yeah, right.
Oh no! The shift click has screwed him.
Oh wow! Wow,
shift click screwed him because now the turret's going to finish up. He's not going to kill more than like 2 or 4. So
well, you know. Yeah, okay, so 11 SEVs and I guess like a handful of Marines potentially is not enough for 3 DTs and a War Prism. Well, 2 DTs so far. Kill him, get him. There we go.
Get Observer 2, awkward.
Oh, finally. So that's 2 scans as well, I suppose. Was that really super worth it? Like, I think it was perfectly acceptable for the fact that everyone's on a macro game.
So Drogo did something interesting behind this though. While this was going on, he did expand. So that's the idea that like Terran's not moving around the map. They're not dropping you. You just kind of have the freedom to take a 4th while this goes on. And if that's what the cost of that was, I'd say it was worth it, but only if he actually gets that base functioning. Because there's still time for KeeN to get over there and drop it and catch it off guard. And I mean, let's be honest, Terran, it's not just Pulp. Terran in general are really good at Nexus sniping.
Yeah. Drogo certainly was not supposed to lose that War Prism, which was it was kind of the biggest problem. Because the DTs lasted long enough, they killed enough. That's fine, and you are on 3 going on 4 bases that you can replace 3 DTs. In fact, just made 5 more, 6 more. He's actually using them for Archons now. So
I love these random pylons placed too. This is, I think, more for spotting than anything else, but also gives the option to warp in if necessary. Yeah. Trying to protect this 4th is going to be a big priority for him, but let's not forget there is an army that can split off and start dropping the main.
Is this for? Okay, it is for disruptors. All right. Okay, so not bad. I wanted to bring up that KeeN. Well, his aggression hasn't really been scary. Like a drop here and there and whatnot. His macro has been powerful enough. Like his 3rd was put down a lot later. Oh, nice snipe here. Than Drogo's, but he also has now double engineering base pumping out 2/2, so he's a little bit ahead on that, which is going to be pretty nice.
You know, that army going down the main didn't see us go towards the main. They're going to be able to pick up that disruptor immediately. Drogo's got to rally that somewhere else. So he's just going to lose it as soon as it spawns, and unfortunately, it's not going to go now.
What? Okay. Well, I just got 3 more otters. So, okay, it does go down.
He lost the robo, and that really hurts his production. But he kept one of the disruptors alive. He traded out that drop better than I thought he would have. And most importantly, once again, 4th base actually up and running.
Yeah. Now, KeeN is also getting his own 4th base. So, again, just like behind, but not so much on these expansions. And he's going up into the late game, which Drogo is also anticipating with a Stargate and going to Fleet Beacon and whatnot. But it's getting to, I guess, what you expect from Dust Towers. And it's late game PvT. I think that KeeN doesn't lose here, but losing the Medivacs actually really hurt. Started his Liberator production. Well, maybe he does lose here. He's only down 10 army supply. His upgrades are about to finish. No, he's fine. The Liberator sieging up is fine.
I was gonna say, with all these Liberators, he should be okay. Even with Stalkers blinking in, it'd be a little bit too costly. We got the Fusion Core on the way, and as much as I personally would love that to be battle cruisers, it's gonna just be for that Liberator range most likely.
Yeah.
Point the probes absolutely cleans up those Widow Mines. Once again, KeeN just kind of left with this awkward medevac and nothing to do with it. Army in the middle of the map, hopefully, though, doesn't get too antsy to move out. I mean, this is something we're fighting with the Liberators. I can see KeeN winning a fight. But fighting outside of the Liberators, that's going to be bad news.
He scanned the main and then made sure that Observer wasn't over top of his army.
Ooh,
so he's going to go for a big drop.
Can he get all 4 of these Liberators?
This will be quite unfortunate. The Medivacs can't do it. Like, they can't do it anymore. Looks like he's not going to get all the Liberators.
He's not going to get the Medivacs either. This just ends up being a bit awkward because he's hesitant to blink.
Wow, I guess. So...
Baited and outplayed.
Yeah, apparently. Well, Drogo, he's maxed out, so if he wants to go to Tempest, he actually has to take an engagement here somewhere.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, right now, what he really needs to do is get back home. Overcharges are not going to stop this. He's going to try and get back with that army, but it's slow. It's going to get there a little bit late. He saw the 4th get taken from his opponent, so he knows he has to keep this base alive. He does take another base. I think this is more of like a consequence of losing. I don't think he needs a 5th right now, but he does need somewhere to transfer those probes to start mining once again.
Yeah, that wasn't a terrible... defense. I mean, losing the Nexus obviously is pretty good and letting any of the army go down, but the Disruptor's got a couple of good shots. And actually, so far, so much for getting away. Everything goes down. That's nice for Drogo.
That's how you make up a Nexus loss. You kill every single medevac, because we're hitting that point in the game where Terran's going to be producing mostly Liberators and not thinking too much towards medevacs. So 3 for this whole army at the moment isn't so bad, but 3 or 4 stims from now is going to be absolutely terrible.
Yeah. And do recall that KeeN still has an upgrade lead. I'm not sure. It's actually kind of interesting. Drogo went for shields before going for +2 armor. I guess recognizing that the Archons were around and maybe like the air would also benefit from that or something. So he's a little bit behind on that upgrade. But 3-3 for KeeN. There's been a couple of games, I know at DreamHack, where the Protoss actually had like an outstanding upgrade lead. Not something you want to do because you're already gonna have a lot of trouble positioning here. Your Liberators are very important to your army, and if they don't get positioned well, then your bio is going to be useless with or without upgrades. But it does catch Drogo a little off guard, sieging up on the bit of his choke.
Yeah, that range is pretty hard to deal with. Stalker's going to blink in, but he's only got to deal with like 1 or 2 Liberators, so hopefully the Disruptors can take out the ground army. Looking like that's not going to be the case. Still get some pretty decent hits. Now, this is really important to know that Drogo has this army that is... Like, the army supply is fine for both, but Drogo has an army that's much harder to replace, much more expensive to replace, so trading out is not going to trade out evenly at all. But it is worth noting there's a lot more Marauders and Liberators than there are Marines and Vikings. So for a time, these Tempests really are going to reign supreme. But Vikings are being made now.
The Tempests are a problem, but well, Drogo, he has a bigger bank, so yeah, he doesn't want to trade out. He wants to actually take very good trades and win the game. He has a little bit more of room to make mistakes.
Tempest.
Actually, can't take care of Tempest, please. There you go. But what I'm worried about is that we're getting into a late game situation, and where I think that Protoss actually has a bit of an edge here, and that's total Terran Barriers. That's usually because they have Storms and Archons, and all the Archons are gonna die about this is the last one around. There's no Storms, so when the Vikings collapse on the Tempest and when the Liberators collapse on the army, there's not going to be any stopping it. You just gotta hope they don't kill the Tempest fast enough.
I just assumed he had gotten Storms behind this, but we're choosing not to use it. I didn't realize he hadn't even researched it.
He doesn't even have feedbacks. He doesn't have a Templar Archives. He went for Archons with Dark Shrine.
I love these cannons, by the way. That helped a little bit, but of course, again, Storms on top of this army would be magnificent. He's going to filter up here slowly. Hopefully Disruptors can get these hits, but those Liberators are going to guard this army very well.
Oh, that's a lot of Disruptor balls, and oh my god, they almost hit the Adepts, but does pick everything up or whatever's left over. The Liberators are going to die, unfortunately, and that wasn't terrible, and Drogo still has this massive bank as well, so actually I think that went better for Drogo.
Oh, he doesn't have
at
charge.
The end of the day. Why?
Drogo's tech is just lacking for whatever reason. It's like he ate his dessert before his dinner. He went straight to these Tempests. He was hoping to win the game here. He doesn't have charge. He doesn't have storm. His upgrades are okay, but KeeN's the one on 3-3. I think when you got Chronobush, you should always win the upgrade game. Just personally.
Yeah, it was because of that shields. Yeah, so now he's getting that +3 armor finally. But this is where feedbacks would have been very, very helpful. Having High Templars littered around the map would have been helpful. The Tempest should be able to clean this up eventually, as they just use the open space here. But it is eventually, and they might be able to snipe. Nope, they're not going to snipe.
It's no question in my mind. Drogo's made some innocent mistakes here, and it's happened from time to time. He's hardly the first person we've seen ever forget Storm, but this is something where now it's going to be so late to the party. There's already going to be Ghosts ready to go. There's already Vikings en masse. What I actually start thinking looks better is, funny as it's considered, mass Stalkers and Adepts might be better, just only on account of the fact that there's it's all in the air. This army's all in the air and the Ghosts.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I think it definitely felt like he did it on purpose. The charge, I'm not so sure about, because as soon as you mentioned he forgot charge, he got charge, which is kind of funny. But the Templar Archives, is usually something that you put almost automatically down. So it seems like that was on purpose, holding off on storms. But now he's getting them.
Well, I like splitting the attention of his opponent. Look over here, look over here, but planetaries and well-defended spots are going to be hard to actually break.
What was nice is that KeeN also, he got that Ghost Academy 4 minutes ago, 5 minutes ago even. I remember seeing on the production tab and then never seeing any ghosts. And I guess he recognized the lack of Archons for one, High Templars for second, I guess a little bit Charge Lots too. But now we have more Archons here. Charge Lots are joining the fray soon as Charge finishes up just now. Oh no.
Disruptor Balls looking to hit most of that ground army, meaning there's nothing to keep the... Well, if there were Stalkers, nothing to keep the Stalkers back, but what little there are don't get to pick this off. Most of the Vikings do pick off most of the Tempests. Back at home, this expansion's also going to get attacked. Drogo, I mean, he's denied mining over here because of that one Liberator. One shot from being killed, by the way. That's got to be annoying. Nexus is going to get killed. No cancel. Ouch. Oh, it does get the medevac for it, though.
Yes. So, I don't know what KeeN's army is, to be honest. He lost that huge, ball of army units on the ground, and he still kept an even army supply.
It's like he's just going for whatever he can. Whatever's at hand
it's all
is the problem.
Air. It's the medevacs including in this. It's so many Liberators including in this.
Oh my god, look at those Liberators. Actually, this is going to be a big problem. There's no retreat for Drogo. He has to actually push forward. Pushing back was actually the worst choice he could have made, because that guarantees death through the Liberators. Oh god.
Look at the supply just plummet after that. Oh, and the pathfinding on those Adepts too.
Well, that's... I mean, he killed the Planetary, but I feel like at this course of the game, that money problem isn't the issue. There's just, oh gosh, there's just no way to really deal with this right now. Storms are coming. We've got Void Rays, I think, out of desperation more than anything else right now. I mean, I really like Drogo, and I like a lot of what he did this game, but right now here at the end, he just really was missing so much tech for so darn long.
It was not a great late game. And for being such a passive game, too, for the most part, usually this is the game where you had the peace of mind to think of everything, where to put your storms. I remember to get charged, get your upgrades, and it just seemed like Drogo did not have that. He still was flustered despite not much going on, and, well, it's actually going to be KeeN's game here.
Nice thing for us, though, is we can see an ace match. So if you guys like Drogo, if you like KeeN, we can see a little bit more. But DT's looking to try and save the day. Scans are going to get them, though. So a little unfortunate there. Canadians push up the ramp as the production starts going down. That's where Drogo's really going to start losing it. I will say he's fighting well for a small army supply, but it is still 20 supply to like 19. It's just not going to happen. Void Rays do a lot of freaking damage. This is surprisingly low amounts of Marines, but still, there we go. GG. GG. Now we are going to just try not to take any time at all, but we're going to go to a small break while we get game number 3 set up. So don't go anywhere. Back with game 3 of KeeN versus Drogo, then the other semifinals when we return. Alright folks, we're going to skip the intro just because we wanted to get into the game and so you wouldn't miss any of the action. It is game number 3. Tied up 1-1, we go to the ace match of the semifinals. Winner of this will go on to the grand finals, of course. But everyone at this point has, of course, made at least $10 in prizing. I know it's not crazy, but thank you, Corsair, for making it happen. $100 in total for each of these cups. Again, prize pool entirely brought to you thanks to Corsair. Spawning here in the bottom right side of the map, though, he is just tied up this series. It's going to be the blue Korean KeeN.
In the top left, as the red Protoss, is my Sanity's PtitDrogo.
Now, again, we were kind of talking amongst ourselves during that break there, but Drogo looked really good in the early game. Game number 1, he kind of dominated KeeN. We figured, oh, this would be like a walkover. It'll be a joke. But I guess the late game Terran just became a little problematic. But I will say, for Drogo's sake, man, like, I really think that had that same game happen in the same way, but the difference being Drogo had his tech, I think we would have seen Drogo like win that game.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was so brooding as there was plenty of time to do so. I can't say that he was overgeared to end the game. There's a couple of times where Drogo pushed out, and maybe that stopped him from getting his tech, as maybe he thought he had a kill move and he didn't. But it wasn't. We've seen situations like that. I didn't think it was that much of that situation. It just seemed like he did forget. Maybe he thought that trumping the Liberator so quickly with Tempest would win him the game, and figured he didn't need everything else until it was too late, or he just had a bad game. And it is so weird because we just saw game number 1 happen. If that was game number 1, we're like, oh, Drogo's having a bad day, like overall. But game 1 happened, and Drogo was perfectly fine in game 1. Yeah, they're actually really good.
Fantastic in game 1, absolutely.
Yeah, KeeN, like flip-flopped. Like KeeN looked quite bad in game 1, and then Drogo looked very shaky in game 2. So I wonder what game 3 is going to look like with it now being Drogo's choice.
Well, so I'm actually hoping and like rooting, my fingers are crossed, that we're going to see Drogo go really all in with some adepts early on. I think we're seeing a lot of Terrans struggle with that, and the gold bases really just contour well to that build. That being said, Prion has gotten past this point where the game is all about the golds, and we are more often than not seeing this sort of gold into a macro game, and then a lot less of the all-ins that we normally do. So either way, I think I'll be happy to see the way this plays out. I'm going to tell you guys this straight up. I am rooting for Drogo on this one. I want to see him in the finals, and nothing because of like, oh, I think he needs to pick me up or any of that nonsense. I just really want to see a PvP finals. So
yeah. I have very much so been enjoying Protoss and Legacy, the Void, even with all the the patches that made him so imbalanced one way or the other, or the amount of groaning that can happen from Protosses or the public about Protoss. I actually think it's like 10 times, 100 times better than the last 2 expansions Protosses.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm right there with you on that same page.
Yeah, and especially PvP, which you might just have if Mon is able to take the series over Guru, which is ready, and that will be casting that next.
Nice. That times out pretty well because I think he just advanced, right?
Yep.
So, Guru will have been waiting for a little bit of time, but Mana will be fresh and good to go, hopefully. I think Mana versus Guru is really interesting, too. Not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but that's a matchup I can very easily see going either direction. Freaking Guru and his workers.
Yeah, I think, I want to say that Mana has like a good feel for Guru, having played in so many online tournaments together, but I'm not so sure. It always seems like Guru's about to lose because he's going too heavy on lurkers, then finally his mass lurkers win, so
by the way,
it's almost like a macro dedication. What?
This is kind of cool to Drogo. He really limits the space that Reaper can hop up to the main with.
Oh, yeah.
Also takes his third pretty darn quick. I guess hoping that greed will pay off for him. We're going to have those Widowmine drops happening again, though. This is something you're going to have to be worried about, because for Drogo, it did damage when it shouldn't have last time, but it wasn't.
Right.
It wasn't outstanding damage. It wasn't like, oh my god, I can't believe. It was like 5 workers.
It was also later than anticipated. You know, it wasn't a Widowmine drop build as this is. So he wasn't paying attention to his main base, whereas now he should be paying attention. He should have some idea, actually. The Observer is going to see the build, even though the medevac's already on its way, and probably have some clue about it. So, you know, this is a case where, yeah, this is not going to kill Drogo, so it can't kill a third either, and taking the third for Drogo is actually going to work out really, really well. It's just a matter about not taking probe losses, and he certainly will not. He has an Observer here as well. Does target the Widowmines, but can probably still get the medevac.
I mean, it's got 7 health. Something just has to look at it funny. We did have a overcharge go on the main. I'm not sure what that was that done.
Reaper.
Reaper? Okay, so not gonna let anything get out of hand. The Observer timing was pretty key there as well. If the Observer hadn't actually been out and played, there's a chance he may not have focused us down in time. I don't know. It was pretty close. But the fact that Drogo deflects that, he now starts moving across the map with a Warp Prism, and frankly, Blink is good enough. Warp Prism's going to add that extra element to it.
Yeah. Well, scanning and killing the Observer is actually far more important in this game than it was last game, where the Observer stayed over KeeN's army for so long in the main base. But this time, it's actually going to be really important, as Drogo is looking to do some pressure with Blink Stalker. Now, it's not all in. He's got a third base. He's got a decent amount of probes, having 2 gold bases, and he's getting upgrades as well. But it is something that's going to be like taken seriously by KeeN. He still doesn't have combat shields, so his Marines are, they could be sniped, and that Warp Prism could add that level of harassment too, like just warping 4 Adepts and look over here with the Blink Stalkers, look over there with the Adepts. Well, it's not Drogo's plan right now. Uh-oh. No Observer.
Well,
yeah, he's at the
Blink's away. Puts Blink on cooldown. While this is going on, though, I mean, like, that's a lot of gateways coming down, Zombie.
Yeah,
like, what was just a little bit of pressure before it turns into what is probably going to look like a big all-in. Well, I said I would have liked to have seen the Adept all-in. I wasn't quite thinking in this capacity, but while Resonating Glaives is great, I really like the +1 that pairs up with this. That's going to affect the workers more than the Marines. But again, secure the landing zone in the main, get that Warp Prism there, warp in a hell of a lot of Adepts, and then there's no way that KeeN can contest this.
Yeah. I don't think KeeN... Okay, he's going to be able to defend against it anyways, but I wasn't sure KeeN expected Drogo to really commit, and Drogo did not, so I guess he was correct in that, as he did lift up 2 medevacs to try and break what he thought was only going to be a contain, and that's what it ended up being.
Drogo's seen this by the way with the Watchtower.
Drogo.
Huge warps in Stalkers and Adepts at home. He should be able to hold this off, especially with an overcharge to pepper into it. This one's going to depower 2 gateways. That's a little unfortunate.
This is a pretty good position to take, actually. Can't deal with the Adepts too well, but does have both medevacs still available, although maybe not for long. That one Stalker. Come on now.
Yeah. Come on, buddy. Come on. High ground vision, very important here, so he does actually get this. Both medevacs should have gone down. Only one does. That Liberator probably should have died as well. For Drogo, yeah. I can't say he's really making mistakes, but it's more that KeeN's just barely getting away. Dropper on the left side also scouted and defended immediately. Can chase after that medevac. Nicely done. Almost. No, once again, barely gets away.
He will get it if KeeN doesn't start dropping the units. Okay.
Yeah, we're talking about co-op mode earlier, and I know you don't play it. Artanis has this really annoying hero ability where, like, if units are going to die, they'll stay alive for like 5 seconds and be invulnerable instead. I feel like that's what KeeN has going for him in this game.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's kind of the only thing he has going for him in this game. It's not like a dire situation yet, as they're an even army, they're on even probes, although Drogo does have a gold base over KeeN's regular base, and actually a 4th base too, but the momentum is in Drogo's favor here. He has a large bank that he just needs to use his production on. Actually, he really needs to use production on it.
Yeah, I'm actually quite worried. The drops in the main could do a lot of damage. Big warpings to come with it, so that's a lot of Adepts to have to deal with. And if KeeN pulls any of his units away from that front line to defend, yeah, 2 bunkers are cool, but this is only 2 Liberators. This is not a threatening defense.
Yeah. Oh, there's a Widowmine right there. They do get a lot of, I think, 2 or 3 Stalkers, but Drogo's just looking to break through it anyway. Yeah,
the Adepts are finally going to get cleaned up over here. Another warping coming. But, the focus fire on the Warp Prism takes it down, but he still gives up position here on that 3rd. Medevac's being targeted on. SCV is going down. I mean, KeeN is losing a lot with this attack. Can Drogo, like, he's losing a lot of his own army. If he loses too much, he's probably going to die to a counter. But can Drogo do enough before that? It looks like, he should be able to do it. The Marauders are barely standing. That Immortal's finally going to go down. The army here might die out, but he certainly traded out enough army at the end that there's no immediate counterattack out of KeeN that wins the game.
Plus, he only has like a limited amount of army right now because he wasn't macroing, just straight up. He was banking like 2,500 minerals during that engagement. So if he had been warping in the entire time, he would be in no problem with the army supply. Now he is finally using that bank again. He's got a 4th base that he transfers, I believe, his main and somewhat of his natural too, as the gold bases are mining out. And he's finally got those upgrades finishing up. So KeeN, once again, that is a little bit on his side here, are the simple +2. Actually, no +2 armor yet. Ghost Academy looks very preemptive.
If there was more adepts in this army, I would actually really like this.
I guess.
Actually, with the Archons coming out now, that's going to be really good. But, man, this is something where for KeeN, like three EMPs are not going to make up for missing 40 army supply, you know?
Yeah,
That's where I feel like so much money is going to have to pour into these ghosts to make them worthwhile. I mean, was it 200 minerals, 100 gas? Like, ghosts are not cheap units.
He did see like a mass amount of adept warp into that war prism, so we might be thinking that a mass amount of adepts is the way the composition, the main army is going to look like. But unfortunately, that's not true. They're only going to be so effective against the stalkers. And yeah, the question is it worth all the minerals put into those ghosts?
There's like 6 Widow Mines. I mean, this is something where you can't really afford to take these hits. Those are mini EMPs. They pop the shield on the Immortal even. I mean, oh gosh, moving forward through this is not quite like moving through
Drogo
lurkers.
should not. Drogo should definitely not push into this. He still has not used his bank.
Oh, well, here we go. Don't need to push in if you're busy warping in.
Yeah, I guess so.
This is going to be a really nice army as the adepts are transferring around. This will pull KeeN out of position, and maybe, just maybe, then Drogo can move in on top of that Widow Mine field. But trying to anticipate where his opponent's going, has to cancel, goes back towards the main. All kinds of havoc here for KeeN as he continues to bleed out more workers.
Yes, yeah, that's true. He is down to 38 workers, which isn't terrible. Okay, 36, 35.
Yeah, you're right. Like, with the main being mined out, he's still kind of appropriately saturated, but that's not a good thing either.
Yeah, he needed a 4th base right now to be like, okay, that's no problem. But unfortunately, he still has to build it.
Look at that income graph, by the way. That's all Drogo. That's all red.
Yeah, but it is a problem where, like, you brought it up earlier with the last attack. Like, a counter attack could be deadly, and I was like, I don't know, it's only a 10 army supply lead and not even that scary of an army. But now he has that 20 army supply lead and a good amount of like medevacs. All the Widow Mines are coming with him. I thought there was more Liberators, but I guess there isn't. But now also Ghosts. I mean, the EMPs aren't devastating the Stalkers, but they are health on the Stalkers. Maybe he could do something, but he is actually being kited pretty well by Drogo. Drogo getting a lot of free damage. Just now starts to lose a couple of Stalkers.
There's that main lifting over here. The nice thing is that once again with your lower SCD count, don't need to saturate, but focus here is going to be on the army for the time being. KeeN still has a very sizable army to fight with. Widow Mine's getting fantastic hits before the engagement even begins. He does let the Adepts still transfer through, however.
EMP on it. There we go. Actually, EMP is like only after the Adepts have died, so either way, it takes a really good fight. I think there might be one more EMP left for maybe 1 or 2 of these Archons, and KeeN might have just one.
EMPing in public is public indecency, by the way, just so everyone's aware. Not really allowed to do that. But this army is going to walk over, and Drogo, sadly, is going to die here. GG.
Jesus. GG.
Well, Drogo will still get $10 for coming in 4th place, but KeeN will be the one to advance on to the finals.
Not what was expected with all of that game taken into account, but that was the risk of like warping in 15 Adepts in the main and only doing economic damage.
I thought it was going to do a lot more, to be honest, but either way, congratulations to KeeN as he advances forward. Now, these other guys have been waiting on us, and we don't want them to take too long, so we're going to play the ads just to get them out of the way. 2 minutes commercials while we get into Mana versus Guru, Poland versus Poland, Protoss versus Zerg. We'll see you guys in a minute. Well, 2.